Welcome to my channel, USA Battle Zone. Today, I'm bringing you a story that will stay with you long after the screen fades to black. It's a story about courage, silence, and a single woman who carried the weight of a battlefield on her shoulders when no one else could. So sit back, listen closely, and imagine the hum of helicopters, the sand under your boots, and the sound of your own heartbeat in the middle of chaos. Because this isn't just a story about war, it's about who we become when everything is on the line. The desert was a furnace that day. The air rippled with heat, and dust clung to every uniform like a second skin. The SEAL team stood gathered in a half-circle outside a forward operations tent, their eyes fixed on a rugged man with a scar running down his cheek, Captain Rains, a legend among special forces. They were getting ready for a mission extraction that had gone wrong. A supply convoy carrying medical personnel had been ambushed 50 miles north of the base. Intel was scattered, communication was down, and night was coming fast. Rains looked around at the team, 20 men, battle-ready, armored, and grim. Then he asked the question that would change everything. Any combat pilots here? For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was heavy, stretched by the low growl of generators and the distant thud of helicopter blades turning lazily in the hangar. Then, from the back of the group, someone moved. Not with a bark of confidence or a soldier's swagger, but quietly, deliberately. A woman, her name stitched in faded thread across her uniform, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hale. She rose to her feet, dust falling from her knees as she straightened her posture. "I'm a pilot, sir," she said softly. A few heads turned. Some of the younger SEALs exchanged glances. A few eyebrows lifted. She didn't look like what most expected from a combat pilot. Her frame was lean, not broad. Her voice calm, not loud. Rains studied her for a second, a long, measuring second. "Ever flown under fire, Lieutenant?" Her answer came without hesitation. "More times than I'd like to remember, sir." That was all she said. But something in her eyes, something quiet, something unbreakable, made the captain nod. "Then saddle up," he said. "We fly in 15. The mission brief was short, brutal, and clear. A group of medics was trapped behind enemy lines after an ambush. 2 Black Hawks had been shot down trying to reach them. The survivors were holed up in an abandoned village clinic, low on ammo and hope. Satellite feed showed enemy trucks moving toward their position, fast. It was supposed to be a suicide run. Sarah strapped into the pilot's seat of a patched-up MH-60, the kind of helicopter that had seen too many battles and too little rest. The interior smelled of oil and gunpowder. She ran her hands across the controls like she was greeting an old friend. "Bird looks rough," one of the SEALs muttered as he climbed in. Sarah smiled faintly. "She's got character. That's what keeps her flying." Captain Rains took the co-pilot's seat. His hand brushed the photograph taped to the dashboard, a faded picture of a smiling girl holding a dog. He didn't ask who it was, but Sarah caught the glance. Her fingers moved across the switches. The rotors began to spin. The ground trembled. The sky, once silent, came alive with thunder. "Hold on," she said. And they lifted off. The flight north was like threading a needle through hell. Dark clouds rolled over the desert, lightning flashing in the distance. The horizon glowed red with burning wreckage. On the comms, voices came and went, fragments of panic, broken transmissions, coordinates that made no sense. Sarah flew low, skimming the sand dunes to avoid radar. Her hands never left the controls. Every gust of wind, every vibration, she felt it before the instruments did. Then the first tracers cut through the air, red streaks of death, slicing the darkness. "Taking fire," one of the SEALs shouted from the open door. Rounds clanged off the armor plating. The helicopter shook. Sarah didn't flinch. She pushed the nose down, diving toward a canyon that carved the desert like a scar. The wind howled. "Jesus, we're too low." Rains barked. "I know," she said. The canyon walls blurred past, rock and shadow and speed. The gunfire above faded into echoes. For a moment, there was nothing but the roar of the rotors and the pounding of hearts. Then they cleared the ridge. Rains let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Sarah smiled just a little. Not the kind of smile that asked for recognition, but the kind that said, "We're not dead yet." 20 minutes later, they saw it, the village. What was left of it? Smoke rose from broken rooftops. The street was littered with burned-out vehicles. Somewhere in the center, inside the shattered remains of a small clinic, a green flare burned weakly in the sand. "That's them," Rains said. "Bring us down." Copy. She circled once, checking for movement. The infrared showed heat signatures closing in from the west, at least 2 trucks, maybe 3. 2 minutes, Captain, she said. "Make it 1. The helicopter dropped fast, skimming the rooftops. The SEALs were already on their feet, weapons ready. As soon as the skids touched the ground, the back ramp dropped and boots hit dirt. Gunfire erupted instantly. Rains led his men through the smoke, shouting orders. Sarah stayed at the controls, the engine idling, ready for a hot pickup. Her eyes flicked between the horizon and the fuel gauge, both dropping too fast. "Raven 1, this is ground team," Rains's voice crackled through the comm. "We've got the medics. 2 Kia, 3 wounded. We're moving back now." "Copy that," she said. "You've got hostiles closing in from the west. I'll give you cover." She swung the helicopter sideways, door guns blazing. The tracers lit the air like fireflies from hell. Trucks burst into flame. The ground shook. Through it all, Sarah's expression never changed. Calm, focused, unyielding. Rains's team broke from the clinic, carrying stretchers through the dust. "Move, move." One of the medics stumbled, hit in the leg. Sarah saw it through the smoke, saw Rains drop to help him, and knew instantly what she had to do. "Hold on," she said quietly, almost to herself. She lifted off just enough to draw enemy fire away, hovering as a shield between the SEALs and the ridge. Bullets tore through the air, hitting the tail, shattering a side window. "Sarah, pull back," Rains shouted. "Negative. Get them on board first." Her voice was steady, but her hands were bleeding from glass shards. The SEALs reached the ramp, hauling the last wounded man in. "Everyone's on," Rains yelled. "Roger that," she whispered. And she pulled the collective. The helicopter roared upward, shaking violently. Warning lights flashed red across the panel. Smoke poured from the tail rotor. "Tails hit," Rains shouted. "We're losing control." "Not yet, we're not." Sarah gritted her teeth, fighting the stick. The desert spun below. Fire, sand, wreckage, sky. She leveled the bird with sheer willpower. They cleared the village. The horizon stretched endless and empty. But the damage was done. Fuel leaking, hydraulics failing, altitude dropping. "Nearest safe zone," she asked through clenched teeth. 10 clicks east, Rains said. "We won't make it." Sarah didn't respond. She just smiled faintly, the way she had before, that quiet, knowing smile. The helicopter came down hard in the open desert. The impact threw everyone forward. The sound was deafening. Metal tearing, sand exploding. Then, silence. When Rains opened his eyes, he saw her, still in the pilot's seat, hand frozen on the throttle. Smoke curled from the dashboard. The rotor spun to a slow, dying stop. He unbuckled, staggered toward her. "Hale, you good?" She blinked, coughed, nodded weakly. "Everyone, okay." Rains looked around. The SEALs were shaken, bleeding, but alive. "You did it," he said quietly. "You got us home." She smiled again, softer this time. "That's what pilots do, sir." And then her eyes closed. Hours later, a rescue team found them. The sun was rising, painting the desert gold. The wind carried the faint hum of incoming Black Hawks. Sarah was still in the cockpit, helmet resting in her lap, a single bullet hole through the side panel where the last round had come in. She never left the controls. When they carried her out, every man stood silent. Even the wind seemed to stop for a moment, as if the desert itself was paying respect. 2 weeks later, back at base, Captain Rains stood on the runway as a new crew painted a name on the side of a replacement helicopter. "Hale's Angel." He ran his hand over the letters, the paint still fresh. Behind him, a few of the SEALs watched quietly. "She didn't talk much," one of them said. Rains nodded. She didn't have to. They watched as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky burning orange, the same color as the desert she'd flown through. And for a moment, It felt like she was still up there, just beyond the clouds, just beyond reach, flying one last mission into the light. Dash dash dash. There are heroes whose stories make the news, the narrator's voice softens as the scene fades to black. And then there are the ones who don't say a word, who do their job, save lives, and disappear quietly into history. Gov. Lieutenant Governor. Commander Sarah Hale was one of those. She never wanted medals. She never wanted fame. All she ever wanted was to fly, to protect the people who couldn't protect themselves. And when the time came, when the world was burning and no one else could take the controls, she rose to her feet. Quietly, steadily, fearlessly, because sometimes, the strongest voice on the battlefield is the one that doesn't shout. It's the one that simply says, I can do it. Dash dash dash. Fade in. Montage of real helicopter footage, desert sunsets, and the soft roll of drums. Voice-over continues. To every pilot, soldier, medic, and silent warrior who's ever answered the call, this story is for you. For the ones who carry the weight of the mission when no one else can. For the ones who stand tall, even when no one's watching. Camera pans across an empty flight deck at dusk, the name, Hale's Angel, gleaming in the fading light. Dash dash dash. If you felt something today, if you believe courage still matters, then do one thing for me. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to remember what bravery looks like. And subscribe to USA Battle Zone, where the stories of real heroes will never be forgotten. Because some legends don't wear capes, they wear flight suits.